Okay, so something about fuck you and your god, or fucking your god, or fuck your god, or fuck your god. God damn it, that's it.
I can't.
How do you forget that? It's tattooed on your ass. Do you
It
need
literally is.
do you need an
tattooed on my
ass mirror?
I do. Yeah. Anyways, fuck your god. God damn it. This is the Odd Atheist Friends, and I'm Matthew in the not so cold white north, and there's Eric over there in the way colder, way whiter north. Hi, Eric.
Hey, Matthew. It's episode 52.
52. So, we got to talk about the weather because it's just kind of our thing. What's it like in fucking North Dakota right now? Are you even still like alive? Well, you're obviously still alive, but
is that obvious?
Yeah.
Well, it's at least it's not below 0 right now. It's 4 degrees. Feels
4
like
degrees.
-10. There's like 4 feet of snow on the ground, and it's never gonna go away. And my car got stuck twice in the past few days, so I'm not driving anymore.
See, you're not driving. Well, it's close enough for you to walk to work. You did say that, so that's
Well, yeah, I can walk to work, but I gotta go to like the grocery store and stuff, you know.
Good luck, Nanook.
Thanks.
Does anybody even know what I say when I say Nanook of the North, or am I just that fucking old? I don't know.
I don't know. You're pretty old.
I am old.
What is it?
Anyways, yeah, okay. Well, I guess we got to introduce our guests. We have the guests of the GingerSnaps podcast. So, hi, GingerSnaps. Yay, welcome. Hey,
thanks for being on the show. Thanks
Hi.
for making the trans people the majority now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I am the straight cis white guy again. I am literally the straight man.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, don't kick me off. I try to be good.
That's what they all say.
I do. I mean, that's true. They all do. But I hope I actually am a good ally. I hope I try. Anyway, so please introduce yourselves to our, well, you're 2 of our 3 listeners. So at least our 1 other listener who may or may not listen to your podcast.
Amy, go first.
Okay, I'm Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Don't you have anything to say about the show?
Well, about the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our tagline is science, skeptical, and queer as fuck. So we do different topics, news, generally with the queer slant, queer and trans, and we swear a lot. And
we don't do that.
We drink a lot.
Drink.
Yeah,
we don't do that.
Sometimes I drink less.
But yeah, no, that's what we do. We talk about news, current events, science, skepticism, atheism, all with the queer slant because we're queer as fuck.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because it's like I never really paid much attention to that, the yas, until Eli brought it up on the Scathing Atheist. I just had no idea where, and now I fucking hear it everywhere. And I'm gonna say maybe I just wasn't listening before.
Typical.
So, yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, you know, as the cis white guy, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you just don't pay attention to because it's not really in my circle. And
like
so
what?
That's why straight people should listen. Cishet people should listen to the shows to get up on queer news too.
I try.
Yeah.
I do try. So, but anyway, so it's like I've been hearing that everywhere, and I think it's funny, as in like other people's reactions to it. Because when I see other straight people's reaction to it, sometimes it's revulsion, and that makes me giggle my ass off.
Wait, they're revolted just by people saying yes?
Sometimes.
Oh my God.
Sometimes people stare at me because my hair is too long, and I'm like, really?
When I was in college, my hair was about shoulder length. I grew it out after I retired from the military. And so my cousin, who I don't really talk to, her husband said I had girl hair because it was all one length hair. And I'm sure like, fuck you too?
Yeah.
So
I get that shit all the time.
Me and my cousin hate each other. Well, because I came out as an atheist, and she's like, "You can't talk like that." I'm like, yes, I can. And I defended your right to be a fucking bitch for 20 years, so shut your fucking mouth.
Oh my god.
So I literally said that to her. And at one point, she actually said in a conversation on Facebook before she blocked me on Facebook, twice now she's blocked me on Facebook. But the first time, she's like, "Oh, well, the earth is made for us." I said, "Really?"
The
And
earth
then I'm
is
like,
what?
she said the earth was made for humanity. She's
Yeah.
one of these people who
Yeah.
thought
That's
that.
why it's so easy to survive. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I'm like, there is really only a very small band around where the water is, where land is, where we can live without like shelter and that kind of stuff. That band is really small. And so we still have to make shelter. It's just funny. So I did all this stuff, and she's like, "Oh, that's not true." I'm like, "Whatever." And then she ended up blocking me on Facebook for the first of twice.
Who's the other person we have with us?
It's William.
Hi,
William.
Am I
So-
supposed to say something about myself?
Yeah.
Oh, if
That
you
would be-
want.
I'm really bad at talking about myself.
Court queer.
Oh.
Talk about the court queer.
Oh,
Instagram.
I do like wine reviews on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah,
I like wine.
I studied wine, and it's not making me any money, so
So you're like
I
a real
started-
sommelier.
essentially.
Awesome. You're like the first person.
The courses that I took are like a little more. So I mean, you can do the same thing, but the sommeliers, like, if they study one of the sommelier programs, they're a little more focused on like the food and the wine and like blind identifying like what it is by like
Okay.
the look, the smell, the taste. And we're a little more focused on like what grapes grow in what region and like memorizing it and like what might they have to do because of their climate, like with how they plant it or how they train their vines.
That is awesome. I have no idea about any of that.
It ends up the same in the end. You can basically do the same jobs. So, yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
When
Yeah, I
lived in-
was. Sorry.
No, please.
This has nothing to do with wine, so it's not relevant.
Oh, okay. When I lived in Spain, there was like the house that one of the houses that I lived in had the guy had a trellis and had trained grapes to grow over top of it. So there's always like grapes and that kind of stuff. Like over and he actually worked at a winery in Spain. So he'd been working there for like 40 years. Every time like any kind of like when either myself or my wife had a birthday or anniversary or Christmas or whatever, they'd always bring over like bottles of wine. Like one time we got like a case of wine of like various things picked and just here, Merry Christmas.
And you can
Awesome.
get really good Spanish wine in this country for like $20 or $15 because like the economic, I don't know, like something about like the value of the wine, like it's just not as expensive as other regions, but it will be really good. And I can only imagine how much cheaper it is if you're there.
Oh my God, it was so cheap, and it was. I like Spanish wine.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed being there.
they're like kind of earthy, but they can have a little bit of that like New World quality. Mm-hmm.
I really dug it. So, Amy, how did you guys start your podcast?
Amy started it.
Originally, well, it's been about 2 years ago. It's
Yeah,
the election was kind of the impetus. Me
it's all Amy.
and my friend Nadia started the podcast, but she quit on me,
Oh,
and we're sad about it. She quit for good reasons. She was finishing her doctorate, and she was just too busy to do a podcast among the other things that she does.
You know what? We're all busy. You know, it's cute.
But yeah, we sought out to do education and news reporting and science reporting, and just to kind of dispel the myths about trans, queer, and shit like GMOs or gene editing or what have you, because she's an actual scientist.
Nice.
So William tried out, and I liked William, so I put William on the show because William is awesome. About what? September of last year.
I was like, I can do it, and you weren't sure about me. Because you were like, you can come on as a guest, and we can see if you can do it.
Yeah, that's a trial. Yeah, it's like an interview for a job. You don't get paid.
That's okay. I still am like, am I doing that? I don't know. What's reality anyway?
That's a great question.
Oh, it's a terrible question.
It's a great question. So I was on your show
yes,
a while ago, but it was really fun. I had a great time.
Round table.
Yep.
Yeah.
I felt so bad, like I was making you do it.
No, I was just having like a bad day, but like it made me feel better to talk about stuff. So it was really good, actually.
Yay.
Yeah. So
that was good episodes.
Yeah.
They were fun.
They were really fun.
So can I ask the trans people a question? Because
here we go. Just Google it.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
As the token cis guy here, and as somebody who is coming into his acceptance of trans people and gay people later in life, my question is this: if I'm in a group like this and I want to say, instead of saying "Hey people," because I know that like all of you identify in different ways, so if I say as a general term, "Hey you guys," as like a way to get all of yours attention, how is that perceived by the various people of the LGBTQ community? Is that seen as negative, positive, or a mixture of both?
We will burn you.
Really don't like it.
We will burn you at the stake.
Oh no!
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know.
It depends on the people.
Of course.
Some people don't like that because it's something that's been used against them in a weaponized manner. Or they just don't identify that way, or they see it as a gender term. Generally, I recommend to people to use a genderless term like comrades or human or anything like that. Like, hey, human,
Folks,
how are you today?
Friends, everyone.
Everyone, I like everyone.
Yep, friends, everyone.
I have a sixth sense about it because some people you can just tell they're saying like, hey guys, and they don't mean it. And if you know them, like, you know that they're just saying it. But some people can walk up to like a group of like, I don't know, people who don't conform in some way, and they're like, hey guys, and you can tell that they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah. I don't want to be that kind of person to say that. And so I was hoping to ask this question to further my own knowledge on something like this, because I see if I walk in this particular instance, this particular hypothetical, that if I walked up and said, hey people, that it would be, I could see that as possibly being a bit demeaning or being a bit too
nonchalant.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
It kind of sounds sarcastic, right? Like, hey,
exactly.
people.
And I don't want to be sarcastic either. You know what I'm saying? So I
do queer organizing in my local area, and I often will go earlier to like help set up, and I usually just am like, hey everyone, and that covers all my bases. So
hey everyone would be a good,
how's everyone doing?
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, because sometimes there's like new people and you don't know yet.
Good point.
We always have intros so that we can make sure we know everyone's like preferred terms.
So
not preferred terms.
No, yeah.
Their pronouns, yeah.
Just their pronouns.
Just their pronouns.
I don't even phrase it that way. I just say I use these, and I don't know, it's stuck in my head from like 10 years of like, it used to be, it was like, oh, my preferred, and it, you know, people used to.
So, as somebody who comes from the cis white people areas, you know,
We let them come to our groups too.
Well,
if
that's
they're
good.
gay. If
That's
they're
good.
gay.
Yeah, I understand that. I totally get it. But like, this isn't something that's normally said where it's like, "Hi, I'm Matthew, and I go by he and him."
Oh
And
my
it's
gosh.
A lot of people recommend just doing that to change the culture so more people
Yeah.
will start doing it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
So-
you feel safe to do it, just start doing it.
Yeah.
Then people have to think about it.
Like, so at my work, when we do like introductions, everybody goes around and says their name and pronouns, and it's really funny watching the people that are not educated be like, "What the fuck are my pronouns?" I'm like, "You use them every day. What do you mean? What are your pronouns?" They just really stumble on it. They're like, "Is it she, her? Is that?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" But it's really
Wow.
funny. But another good way to be like a ally, I think, is like in your email address, if you have a work one or whatever, or a school one, putting your pronouns after your name, which is what I do, and that's what a lot of people at work do too, to be allies. It's cool, just to normalize, like, just so you know, these are my pronouns and stuff.
So, my name, and then underneath pronouns, he and him.
He,
him,
him, his. See, it's a thing. Like, I'm telling you,
He,
all you
him, his.
people don't understand, but yes, he,
He,
him,
him,
his,
himself.
she, her, hers, or they, them, theirs are the big three. There's other ones, but
Wow.
Z, here, here's.
yeah,
What was it? I heard
not
something.
confuse them.
Yeah. Yeah. As the expression goes, nuking me out is actually a pretty common thing because, you know, sometimes I just get blown away by stuff, and it's just like, I never thought about that kind of stuff before. And so I think as somebody who is fairly typical that and
You're
fuck, I don't
implying
even
that
want
we're
to.
not typical?
No, exactly. And I was just about to correct myself in saying that too. That even that alone is saying that you're not typical, you are, and it's seen as rude for normal society to say that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to train myself out of that. So this has been a really great conversation for that. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Just because it's common doesn't make it normal.
This is true.
I didn't even know half this shit like 5 years ago, even though like in my mind there was stuff that like didn't make sense. I didn't even know anything about this stuff.
Yeah,
Everybody has to learn.
it's true. I want to comment on the question you asked about the like saying, "Hey, you guys." Like, one, that term, I have to think about it because I know that term wouldn't bother me. That would just make me feel more included because I'm a guy. But then I think about people that aren't guys, and I'm like, if someone came up and said, "Hey, you girls," to like me and a group of girls, I would feel like, no, like that's happened to me. Like that's the worst feeling. And I'm like, I mean, it's a different term. I get it because guys is often used for everyone, but
Misogyny.
I know. So, but like same feeling. I don't like it. So I really try not to use that term, even though that's something I like grew up and I was used to using as just like a neutral term. So I don't want to be like offensive or bring up hurt for anybody because when I get called a girl, it's very hurtful. So yeah.
I remember it wasn't that long ago when I was in college. I was sitting in the lunch in the cafeteria, and somebody who I'm assuming is somebody who identifies as a woman went up to, I'm assuming, a group of her friends and said, "Hey guys," and I'm like, none of you seem to identify as a guy, so why are you saying, "Hey guys"?
Yeah. So like in language, it's just, and in certain parts of the country, I don't know if it's everywhere, but I know a lot of people just use that as like a gender neutral term, even though it's obviously not. It's really weird.
I think we should just all adopt the Pennsylvania, like, hey yous.
Yeah.
What are yous doing? I do have some relatives that are like, use twos, use. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Or be really southern and say, "Hey y'all."
I say y'all a lot as a gender neutral term.
It is.
I've even heard y'all singular, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Hey, Utes.
Use twos?
Utes.
Youths.
Utes.
Oh, youths. Yeah.
No, not youths. Utes.
Oh,
What's
Utes.
Utes. TS?
TS. Utes.
Oh, I've never heard that one.
I've heard that one used from time to time, but in the military, you get people literally from all over who
Right.
have all different kinds of ways of speaking. So it can be interesting to say the least.
Military. Okay, I want to see if you laugh at this.
Okay.
I have a friend who I used to work with, and we stayed friends, and her husband, I think it's the Air Force. I always get it mixed up, and I'm like Navy, and he's like, no, Air Force, or I say Air Force, and he's like, no, Navy, because it's like all the same to me. And I'll always be like, oh, how's your health care or something? And he'll be like, it's fine. And I'm like, you're welcome. And I can't tell if he's pissed off because I'm like, you're welcome. I paid my taxes.
It's pretty funny. I personally would think it's funny. So, but while you're in, it's really weird because like while you're in, it's like you can get like almost anything normally.
TRICARE.
Yeah, TRICARE, but it's like they have a tendency to like, oh, okay, well, it's just a bruise or a sprained tendon, have some Motrin, or as we called it, vitamin M. And so,
jeez, that's bad.
Yeah, they just gave us like 800. I can't tell you how many bottles of 800 milligram Motrin I threw away because they just expired. And so
that's
it's like
bad.
I mean, they just give you the. It's like they just give it away like candy. That's why we called it vitamin M. So,
it's bad
but
for your body.
It really is. But in some ways, like the VA is even worse. It's because depending on where you are, trying to get, and the federal government is trying to like trying to defund the VA, and so it's like they care for you while you're in. But once you're out, they could give a rat shit less about you. And so they don't care. It takes a long time to get your ratings of disability if you're disabled. And so they keep trying to fuck us out of the health care that we get. And so it's like, as somebody who's 80% disabled, service connected, that, and they're like, and my doctor, when I first got it, I was like, do you want to have private? I'm like, no, I want VA healthcare because that's what I was promised when I enlisted. Was to be able to be taken care of if I got hurt in the military. And I did get hurt in the military quite a bit. And
the point of my joke, though, is that I absolutely think that the people deserve it. But I have come across an attitude where they're like, well, I earned it and no one else earned it. So therefore, I shouldn't acknowledge that it is paid for by the American people.
There is kind of like that at some cases in point where it's kind of like nobody else. I mean, because only like 1% of the people in the United States serve since we went to an all volunteer force in the 1970s. And so this is why you get people who go to Iraq and Afghanistan 6 and 7 times in 10 years. And, so there's kind of like that us versus them mentality just a little bit. So you kind of got to see where that attitude is coming from. I'm not saying that it's uncalled for, but I understand it.
Yeah.
So I deployed to Iraq 3 times in the 4 years that I was 4.5 years, almost 5 years. I was on my 3rd ship, and I was gonna get ready to go back again when I transferred off. They left for Iraq a month after I left.
Wow.
So it is what it is. But yes, thank you for the healthcare. I appreciate it. And my taxes paid for it too.
I wasn't looking for that. I just had a feeling you would laugh at my joke.
I did. I thought it was funny. But
I just like to annoy him.
A lot of times people in the military have a little bit more of a kind of a gallows and absurdist sense of humor, where it's just kind of like there's a phrase called "embrace the suck," where it's just like it sucks. There's nothing you can do with it. Just embrace it because there's literally nothing else you can do. So
sounds like real life.
Yeah, pretty much. but except you're trapped and you can't go anywhere. You just can't throw up a middle finger and just go, I quit and walk away without having serious life repercussions in it. So yeah, embrace the suck is a phrase that is used quite a bit. So embrace the suck, baby. That's all we got.
Well, what happens if you just quit? If
Then
you say you can't do it?
Depends on where you are and what you're doing. If you're deployed or whatever, it's like you can. In the Navy, they might send you to captain's mast for malingering or failure to follow your orders or all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of different stuff you can do depending on where you are. There was one guy at the start of the Iraq. We were getting ready to go in '98 to Southern Watch, and a young Marine didn't want to get his anthrax shots, and eventually he jumped off the side of the ship right before we left Hawaii, and he got sent for. He jumped off the side of the ship. He was a Lance Corporal in '83, had refused 2 of the anthrax shots, had gotten busted 1 rank for each time he did, and the 3rd time he was literally hanging off the back end of the ship, saying he didn't want to do it. They can't make him, and so this Marine officer was like, "Come on up, man. We can talk about it." And he's like, "Fuck you." And then, of course, this Marine officer, of course, is not going to stand for that. He's like, "Get your ass up here," and all this stuff. And he lets go and is like, "Fuck you!" as he fell off the boat.
I didn't want to get autism either, so.
God.
But anyway, so like we picked him up in like 3 minutes from a man overboard, and that's pretty fast. 3 minutes from not being manned to having him in the boat. 3 minutes is super fast. And so the bosun, when he's the guy who's in charge of like the boat operations, it's called the ship's bosun. When the boat got up to the rail, he
like Data.
Kind of. But anyways, like this old crusty fuck. I mean, when we were in port, if he was still there at 11 o'clock, it was a long day for him. So anyways, but when they got up next to the rail, he literally pulled him off by his collar. They brought him up to the bridge where the CO of the ship was there, as well as the CO of Marines, and the captain's mast was instant, and it was held over for courts-martial. They had him gone in 2 hours, flown off the ship back to Hawaii, back to Pearl Harbor. So this is because he wanted to not take the anthrax shots. I ended up getting 7 in the course of my career. 8.
So essentially, do you just like
you can't get anthrax?
Get fired, or like what? I don't. I'm still confused. Like he got sent home, or whatever.
With dishonorable discharge.
Possibly not. Probably a bad conduct discharge or an other than honorable. But if you get anything but an honorable discharge from the military, when you go to apply for any job, if you're in the military, they will ask you for your DD-214, and which is your record of discharge of what you did while you were in the service. And on the bottom of copies 2, 4, and 6, depending on which copy that you got, it has your discharge code, RE code, re-enlistment code. Mine is RE2, sufficient service for retirement. So, but if you get other codes are like bad conduct discharge, other than honorable discharge, dishonorable discharge. And having those, let's go back to the court-martial. Having a court-martial is the equivalent of having a federal felony charge labeled against you. So if you got a court-martial and say you just got a fine of $100, you just got a federal felony for $100. Think about that. A federal felony. So forget about ever trying to do anything with the federal government. It's just not going to happen. And so if you've got a court-martial, when you go to apply for a job and they say, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Yes, you have. A federal felony by having a court-martial conviction. You have a federal felony.
That's fucked up.
Yes, it is. there's been a couple of cases where people have won like multi-million-dollar lotteries and they get out of the military. The military will kick them out on what they call a hardship discharge because most people have only got their military pay, and to be honest, it's not really that much. I mean, as when I first got in the military in 1990 as an E1 under 2 years, in 1990 I was making $200 a paycheck.
Wow.
$400 a month in 1990s money. So
they pay your housing, right?
I was living in a barracks, but even then you get an allowance for housing. And so not if you're married but don't have kids, you're not necessarily allowed to be in housing because you have to have like a certain number of dependents. So, but it also depends on your rank too. So if you're an E4 under 4 years, depending on where you are, your housing allowance is going to be pretty junky. You're not going to be living in the greatest of places. And so, yeah, the pay is not good. So, but anyway, so the reason why I say that people who win these multi-million-dollar lotteries get out, let's just say, for instance, you win $10 million in a lottery, right? Your boss comes up to you, your E7 comes up to you if you're lower listed, and you're like, I want you to clean the bathroom. And you look at him and you're like, no, I'm not going to clean the bathroom. And let's just say you go up and you get NJP, non-judicial punishment. And the captain looks at you and says, half month's pay times 2 for 2 months. You pull out your checkbook and say, will you take a check? There's literally nothing they can do with you except for take away your time. Money becomes a non-issue. And that's where the military gets you, is because they know the pay is junk. You're going to do pretty much whatever they want. You're a wage slave. Do you see where I'm coming? Do you see where that? Do you see
a wage slave like everybody else?
Pretty much. But it's even lower, and the chances of getting a federal felony, or if you get if you get anything other than an honorable discharge, they're gonna ask why. You are screwed. Unless you got a rich daddy. So
or bone spurs.
But anyways, rich daddy can hire you in his business, and you don't have to worry about trying to fill out an application.
Yeah.
So that's where you can be screwed over by the military. So, and it's not for everybody. The military it can be not a nice place to be, as you might end up having to kill somebody, because that's basically what it is you're getting ready to break stuff catastrophically and kill people for the national defense. So they tell us. I hope that roundabout rambling answered any of the questions. I hope so. I'm not sure.
I want to kill for breakfast. I could be an assassin.
That made me think of a conversation I had with someone that was in the military for, I think it was 20 years, like you, Matthew. I can't remember. I didn't know this person that well, but I was like, I struggle with depression. I talk about that a lot on the show, but I was in New Mexico doing geology for that month. I was gone, and we took a break in the show, and I was feeling really down when I first got there, because I was like a year into my transition, and I was fighting to stay in like the guys' dorms and everything else, and people kept just like bullying me and not understanding that I was trans and everything. It was really weird, and I didn't like it, and I was struggling. So I was sharing my feelings and talking about my struggles and stuff with some friends there, and the guy overheard it, the guy that had been in the military for 20 years, because he was like doing his doctorate in geology or whatever, or master's or something, and he got really mad at me because he was like, I've killed so many people, and like my group of people in the military, like veterans have like one of the highest suicide rates. And I was like, well, guess what? Trans people have a higher suicide rate, I think, than veterans. Not that you can't be a trans and a veteran, so that could overlap. But you know what I'm saying? Like trans people have a very high rate. And so, but he kept calling me a girl and shit. And it was like really getting on my nerves. And then he made me call like the counselor, and I was like, they won't give me any more counseling services. They cut me off. So that's not even going to fucking help. Good luck. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like this air of how he was like, yeah, military people, like we're more important than trans people or whatever. And I'm like, that's the stupidest thing. And it just really bothered me. Yeah. I don't know. I just wanted to share that.
You know, generally speaking, I think that the military people are generally conservative. It's not always true because there's a lot of liberal people in the military too, like anywhere else. Even though the conservatives like to think that, oh, well, you know, it's like the conservatives rule the military. No, you don't. But anyway, so yeah, you get that a lot. And so I see that at like the VFW and that kind of stuff where I hear this stuff frequently in places like pages on Facebook that are military oriented and that kind of stuff that I'm a member of. And I see stuff like that, and it's just like it's really frustrating for me to see this stuff. It's like because they don't know how wrong they are. It's like they're not even wrong. That's how wrong they are, and it makes me mad to see it. It really does.
Yeah. So does anyone want to talk about anything else?
Not
you, Matthew. You've been talking the whole time.
I wanted to thank our patrons.
Oh, no. Thanks to our patrons. Thanks. Okay.
Molly and Trevor. The top patrons, Molly and Trevor.
And the Polish person.
Mariusz.
Thank you. I'm never gonna be able to say it right.
Just call him Ski. He might be okay with that.
We should probably ask.
We should probably ask him. Yeah, that's something that we should ask. Hey, Ski, are you okay with us calling you Ski?
Oh my god.
Oh, Ski. I thought you were saying skeet, like rap songs.
Oh, Ski,
no.
Ski.
I was like, whoa. Hi.
I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly when I say it as Mariusz Buczykowski. I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. And in the military, we have this thing of people with the last name of ending in SKY or SKI. They call him Ski for short. So
people in Pennsylvania have that too. That's just because there's a lot of Polish immigrants.
There's a lot of Polish here in Chicago too.
Polish.
Hey.
What the?
I like to make fun of white ethnicity because I think it's kind of bullshit the way people use it. My apologies.
Don't be apologetic.
Oh my gosh. In my dream last night, I was Italian.
Are you Italian?
I'm not. Like, I mean, I might have like, but I'm not. It was so weird. I had a different name and everything.
Poopity poppity.
Giuseppe.
Poopity poppity poppity poopity.
Giuseppe. Giuseppe. Oh, Giuseppe.
Oh, Pinocchio.
You know.
There's a lot of Polish here in the area too. There's a lot of Polish in Chicago.
I do have a friend who makes Polish food and has parties. It's a really like odd assortment of people because she's like a non-binary trans woman. I know that's a mouthful. Do we need to explain it?
No, I'm okay, but you can.
For the listeners.
Please.
I guess it's kind of like actually I shouldn't speak for someone else. But based on she helps me a lot. So based on like what she's told me, it's kind of like you're a woman, but maybe you don't like fully identify as a woman or fully care about like being a woman. Yeah. I guess it's kind of complicated.
Sounds it.
But she makes like a Polish food and invites like all these queer people, like a really wide variety of queer people. And I just think it's an odd combination. It's like Polish food and queer people. And I was going to say Polish food kind of looks really brown and unappetizing, but it tastes really good.
Cool.
Why?
Eric-
There's a lot of sausage.
Eric, I think we should have all the trans people who we can find that are podcasters, have them all on and have the great pizza debate. Anything but talking about trans subjects.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Talk
I
about
have
like,
a subject that I'm obsessed with. And I asked Amy this yesterday. Have you all watched the television show The Expanse? I'm just like rewatching it and I'm like obsessed.
what's the name of that show again, please?
The Expanse.
No,
I've
I
never
haven't
heard of it.
Heard of it.
Oh my god,
Oh,
it's
it's
so
so good.
I'm so obsessed.
Is it on like Netflix or something?
No, it's on Amazon Prime.
It's
Okay.
on Prime.
Oh, Amazon Prime.
I think they might have some of it on Netflix or Hulu.
Okay, I have
Did you
both
s-
of those.
Did you say The Expanse?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Space show.
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
It's
I
good.
love space shows.
It's
So
really
good.
good. It's so good.
I don't even know how to like explain it.
Are you guys like guys?
Ha!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Put a quarter in the jar.
Oh,
Shink.
$1. Quarters aren't worth anything. It's $1 in the jar.
It's $1 in the jar. Yeah.
Put a 20. Fuck it.
I'm now going back to school. I don't have 20s to dip in the jar
they
anymore.
don't even have it on menu anymore. They have like you pick two or something, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
Our guests are do you guys fuck! Torture the cis guy day. Are you people like into like Star Trek and nerd communities and that kind of
Oh,
stuff?
you people. Wow.
You people.
Oh god.
I love sci-fi.
Yeah, I'm a huge nerd of of differing varieties. My biggest fandom though is Doctor Who.
Oh,
Oh,
yay! Who's your first Doctor?
The Fourth Doctor,
Which one is the fourth Doctor?
Tom Baker.
David Tom Baker, my
Oh,
favorite.
you.
He was also my first Doctor. Are we
Yep.
about the same age, Amy?
I'm 41.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than you. I'll be 48. So yeah, we're about the same age.
Yep,
Wow.
So
That's a baby boomer. I'm so sorry.
that's Gen X, but
Gen
thanks for
X,
playing.
but yeah.
Is baby
Yeah,
boomer.
that's Gen X for thanks for playing.
Is baby boomer.
No,
Yes.
no,
I'm
William.
pretty sure.
no.
It's Gen X.
It's Gen X.
Well, I'm still sorry. It's close enough.
People, even people born in like the late 1960s are still considered Gen X. I think it's like 66.
64 is the end of baby boomer.
Yeah. So,
Huh.
we asked the question of our guests. Have either one of you have played Dungeons and Dragons, or do you play, or are still currently playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes.
Yay! We got another
I've
one.
never played it, but I feel like I grew up like near it.
Okay.
Like proximity. I was nerdy enough that I knew people who did it.
Okay.
Yeah, but they never invited me because I was,
No.
you know,
I've been playing D&D since 2nd edition. I remember Thaco.
Yes.
I'm just
There's-
cooler than Amy. What can I say?
There is a phrase I have not heard in a long time.
What's your Thaco?
Yes. What's your Thaco? Two
It's
hit AC 0. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's algebra for D&D.
Pretty much. Before they
can't do
realized that addition was better and easier to do than subtraction, even for nerds.
Can you be an elf?
Yes, you can. I
If you
have
could be an elf or like a magic person. I would like it.
yes as the answer. Matt,
Can you
I
be
keep
a vampire?
yeah. Well, yeah. Matt, I keep dice in my car. Like I have dice in my room and dice in my car,
Nice. I've got like
just in case. Just in case.
Just in case.
I've got a big bag of dice that it's literally a bag about like this big.
Yeah.
And Eric has seen my dice rings that I have. I've got rings that I spin on my
Yeah.
fingers like this.
Those are really
So
cool.
you don't know if I'm actually playing with my rings or I'm actually doing a hidden DM spin. You don't know. So, but yeah, so
Trixie. Trixie.
yeah, I've been playing since the Red Box back in like '84.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been playing that
So-
long.
I know, I'm old. I'm old. Yeah, there was a series of colored boxes called BECMI, basic, basic, advanced,
Yeah.
I
expert,
thought that's where you got the
companion.
DVD from for $1.
Basic, expert, companion, masters, immortals.
Yep.
And according to the original D&D, there's only one way to truly retire. That is to go all the way through immortal 25th level, turn your character back to human mortal level 1, and do it again. Once you do that with the same character, you can just put your character away. I don't think anybody's ever done it. At least nobody that I've heard of.
But
They just die. That's
the thing
my
I don't
characters.
get, there's like a game master, whatever, and there's rules, but like, who knows? You're just somewhere, like with your friends. You could just make up your own rules. No
You
one
do.
knows, and
You
like,
That's
do.
called house rules.
Yeah,
That's called house rules.
right. So just
happens.
do what you want. Like, I would just do what I want.
well, you kind of do what you want, but
I'm the worst at game. Like, I don't really get competitive. So when I play games, I just get bitchy and I'm just like, I'm just going to do what I want. Like, you told me the rules. I don't care. I'm doing this. And like, I just annoy everybody.
Oh, that's how your character dies.
Yeah.
That's where the DM just goes,
Well, I'm Captain
Big thing of-
Picard, so whatever.
big thing of dice,
I
and
win.
you die. That's actually kind of a shitty DM to do that kind of stuff too. But the DM can get a little more strict about his rules. What's your favorite, Amy? What's your favorite edition and character class to play?
oh, 4th edition,
Really?
4.
Wow.
4.5 actually.
What does that
4.5.
mean?
But character and class. Oh, that's just so hard. Oh, that's just so. Oh, it's so difficult.
Can you all tell me all the species you can be really quick?
No.
There's so many. Sorry.
Yeah. There's a
Wow.
lot.
Like 100?
I don't know. I mean, and you
Google
can make
it.
your own people.
Google
There's
But
it.
like the main ones, there's like
I'm
elf,
not going to Google
dwarf.
it. I'm on this show for education.
Like the main ones are like elf, dwarf, human, half orc, half
Half
elf,
Halfling.
halfling.
Can you be 2 halves of anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind
I mean,
of.
you could be like, that's what a half is. You're half of one thing and then half of something else.
No, but I mean, you get to pick it, or there are
Yes.
ones you have to pick. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Although
Do they have like witches?
Yes.
Yeah, so like you
Are
pick
they
your
human?
species, and then you pick like what your like your
Oh,
class.
okay, I know that. I think I know that.
although if you did like a half orc, halfling, I want to know the backstory of how you were born.
Oh yeah. That would be interesting.
Well, I would have been born from an egg, obviously.
No.
Then you could be a lizard folk.
Oh, I
lizard
wanted
folk.
an egg because I think it's cool.
Well, you can be a lizard folk, but they're like pretty dumb and stuff. I played one.
Or there's another one in 3.5. It's called a Harsaf, where you're kind of like a lizard person, and they mostly go towards monks, but they have a fire subtype, so you can have like your hands burn, and so it's like if you're doing monk stuff, you can get fire damage with your unarmed damage. Do D6 fire damage with your unarmed strikes.
Back to
So-
Amy.
No, I think the most fun I ever had was with a neutral good halfling rogue. That's probably the most fun that you can have.
Yeah, neutral good is a good alignment to have. So
What's a rogue?
They're like kind of like a sneaky thief class.
Oh.
kind of.
Kind of. Well, no, it's more complicated than that, but it's just min-maxing being a halfling rogue, which is good because it's fun.
When I hear like neutral good and rogue, I hear like anti-hero.
Kind of. An anti-hero would be chaotic good. That would be an anti-hero.
True.
So you're kind of like you're what's best for yourself, but you're also for the good of people, generally speaking. But you're not maybe you trying to think of his name. Robin Hood would be considered a classic archetypal for chaotic good.
Yep, I agree.
Makes sense. It's not like a bad position per se.
No. And then I'm wearing a T-shirt that says "Neutral Evil," where you don't exactly care where the XP comes from.
That would be
What is
fun.
XP?
Experience points.
It's how your character. It's how your character progresses through the game.
So
I think I created a monster. Like, my partner was never into like sci-fi or fantasy or anything, and I got him watching Star Trek, and then all of a sudden people at his office, it's a transportation and like urban planning firm, so I'm guessing there's a lot of nerds, and they started a D&D group, and he's like, I'm playing D&D now, and I'm like, what have I done? Because he used to resist all of this shit, and I was the one who liked it, and I was like,
Resistance is futile.
like, now you like Captain Picard and you're playing D&D.
my favorite captain was Cisco. So anyway, so
We haven't gotten there yet. I mean, obviously,
that's controversial.
Janeway.
I like
Janeway.
Janeway.
I like them all, but I think Deep Space Nine is my favorite.
That's Cisco.
That's Cisco.
I know,
Yep.
but we haven't gotten there yet. He hasn't seen it, so he only knows Picard and Discovery, and he's like, I don't like Discovery. Like TNG.
Nobody liked Discovery.
I like Discovery.
I haven't seen it yet, so I can't say anything about it.
I don't like it actually, but I like it because it's Star Trek and it's on TV.
It's a good point. So, Amy, going back to Dungeons & Dragons, you were saying about your character in 4.5?
3.5 is I actually think what I meant.
Oh, okay.
3.5. Sorry. Whew.
I was going to say because third edition came out and people liked it, but then they came out with a modification, and that's where 3.5 came in. And 3.5 is where I think most people are playing today, even today. And like the last book came out like 15 years ago, because it's literally like the most you can do with all of it. Yep. And so if you throw out the rule with multi-classing, which most people do, you can create some seriously broken fucking characters. And so, Amy, what's your most broken character?
We did what did we do? We did a game. We started at like level 10, and we did what's it called when you take two classes? Not multi-classing, but it's a German word.
Gestalt.
Gestalt. We did a Gestalt campaign, and that was just completely broken.
Oh, they're insane. Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. I can't remember what I did. It was, I think, I can't remember what Gestalt character I did. I'm going way back in time, but it had something to do with a bow, and it was just there was 4 of us playing, and it didn't matter what we were facing with 4 Gestalt characters at high level. We could just kill anything, and it wasn't as much fun as we thought it would be.
That's how come you've got to seriously overpower your monsters coming against you and your guys. So it's like, yeah, you might be 4th, 10th level, but you're not actually 10th level. Yeah. Your effective level is way higher than that, and your DM should have allowed for that when he was making the adventures.
Yeah, it was an experiment, but it was still fun. That was broken as fuck, but
yeah, like there was a group that actually I'm still playing in, but anyways, like one guy did this thing with like he could fire for effect and shoot like 10 arrows at a round at you, or he could do 1 arrow for like 10d6 damage. And so with all the other, and he could shoot like basically like 1,000 feet too, was like his long range too, which is like, yeah, it was insane. So the bard character was giving us an extra 12 points to hit and damage when he started playing his music, and it's just like an extra 12 points to hit and damage too, on top of all the other stuff that we were doing. We had one guy using a warhammer. He'd get enraged and make himself large, and was doing 66 with a warhammer, and he was getting 4 attacks around, 5 attacks around, just crazy shit. Like they dropped him one from like this height, And he took damage doing it because he fell. But he did 10d6 with one blow of his Warhammer. Took down a mini boss with one hit because they dropped him from 40 feet. Smash!
Yep, Hulk smash.
Yeah, pretty much. But it
I
was
had a character
super
named
fun.
Hulk.
Did you?
He was a half orc, not barbarian, cleric, but he was more of a tank than a cleric because we didn't have a tank, and we played Curse of Strahd, and
I loved that adventure.
it was really wonderful. But he was chaotic neutral, and
Well, you
he
don't care whether...
he didn't care. Yeah, and then he got turned into a werewolf, and then he he found out he had to take the innocence from someone or whatever, or eat something innocent or whatever. It was like really cryptic how he found out, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go trick a teenage girl into having sex with me and also eat her," and it didn't work.
Oh,
My
'Cause
God.
he had sex with her first, and then he ate her. He should have eaten her and then like had sex with the body. Anyway, so that didn't work. And then he didn't know it didn't work for like a whole day. And then he was at the tavern singing, trying to get some money because he was broke. And then he vomited because I rolled very poorly. And then all the bones came out, and then he put them in a bucket, and then he ate them again because he was like, "Oh no, maybe that's why it didn't work." And anyway, he ended up eating like a 2-year-old that he found. I was crying. Like, I was really fucked up. It was really awful.
what the fuck are you all playing?
So that's what we do in my
Bro-
games.
Role-playing
Wow.
games, yeah.
Well, when
Wow.
we had Hertzie and Maddie and Trevor, we had them, everybody to my house, and Eric. We played, what was it, 10 Candles, Eric?
Yeah.
And I 9/11 to Santa Claus.
Oh, good.
I
It was a good
9/11
time.
to Santa Claus. It was a good time.
I would like to
So-
play 10 Candles over the internet with some people if anyone's interested. It's a horror RPG. It's a one-shot. You play it for like 3 hours.
That sounds like fun.
What is
It
it?
does.
It's like it's a horror RPG, so it'll be a little weird over the internet, but I think I could do it. Essentially you have 10 candles, and when the last candle goes out, you all are dead. Like you know you're gonna die. That's the end of the game. But so you go through and like you have you push yourself as like a human, and you go through all like the emotions and everything of like trying to stay alive and what you would do if you're trying to fight for your life. And you have like a good thing about you that you can use, and like a bad thing about you, like a vice or something that you use. And
Like
you
a horror
like-
movie.
yeah, so you push
Yes.
yourself through your breaking point, and you're fighting these whatever it is. It's just a bad force, and you come up with what it is as like a group. It's all like a storytelling experience.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
It's really cool. So we should play that sometime.
And in this one, what was it? How did it go, Eric? What was it? Like penguins were... Do you remember what the details were? It was like... It was... I don't remember,
I
but it
don't
was
know. I was just coming up with shit. I'm telling you, I don't know.
like... It was like...
It turned
It
into
was-
Christmas. Christmas was evil, and Santa was evil, and I was like, I don't even know how we got here from where we started, but it was great.
like
Great.
reindeers and elves and stuff. It was fucking
Yeah.
bizarre. It was great. I had a great time.
Yeah, so it's
I-
different every time. Anyway,
Wow.
I have a question, like super hopefully brief, but just I don't know, whenever you're playing like an RPG or a video game where you get to create a character or whatever you get to make a character in, I'm just wondering how you all, well, probably not Matthew, but maybe I'm just curious about you too. Like when you're making a character, before I knew I was trans, I would always make I always made a woman character, but I made her look very masculine, like look like a dude, so like a trans guy essentially. So I'm just wondering what, and I've heard a lot of trans people just like make their preferred gender and stuff. So I'm just wondering what you all did or do.
I always, even before I came out, I always played a girl character, like in video games, in role-playing games, always.
Yeah.
And it was probably the first indicator to my close friends that are still my friends that I was trans, because they're like, well, why, dude? Why are you always a girl, dude? I'm like, I don't know. I just like looking at, I use the excuse, I just like
Mhm.
looking at a girl better than I like looking at a guy on the video game.
Right.
But always, 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 even since I was little.
Mm-hmm. Cool discussion.
I didn't play too many games like that, so I'm trying to think like I played some games like that like a little bit, but so I'm trying to think. I don't have too much memory of it. But the little bits that I can remember, I feel like I probably did two different things. Like I'm thinking sometimes I played like a guy, but I tried to like make the guy like look a certain way, but that was probably more like a self-esteem thing, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I probably played girl characters too sometimes. But I didn't play like that many games.
Right. Matthew, do you always play a dude? Sorry, William.
Oh no, go ahead first.
Well,
no, you can finish or whatever.
Oh, I was just remembering in high school there was some RPGs, but it was like, you know how people would do ones on message boards? They would put like a topic and people would just play or something.
Mm-hmm.
I remember doing like some of those, but those ended up being like sort of non-human stuff, I think, a lot, or like sci-fi. So I feel like it didn't apply as much.
Cool.
I think generally speaking, like if I'm playing a fighting game, I'll play a lot of times a female character because I think you can get more action because of how in video games that they stereotype the women not being as strong as men. So I personally am of the opinion that I'd rather hit you a bunch of times lighter than one big hit to knock you out. In any kind of combat or fighting, it's better to hit the other person and not get hit. So, because you just don't want to get hurt. So it's like I hate the way people play video games like Halo and Destiny and that kind of stuff because they're not real combat video games. Because you only got one life, so you're playing a video game with 1 quarter when you're in the military. You know what I'm saying? So people running out and like getting killed and all that kind of stuff. Oh, I'll just respawn. Yeah, that doesn't happen in real life. So I'll hide and that kind of stuff. But playing like combat, like kung fu fighting games, I'll usually play a female character because they get more hits in, and it's easier to do multi-attack combos with a female character than it is with like you got the guy who's like super slow, but if he hits you, he takes like half your health. It's like, but you're gonna get hit a bunch. And if you got somebody who is super good at playing like, you know, these female really fast characters, you're not gonna get in that hit. It's just not gonna happen. So, but playing D&D, I've played male and female characters. It's I've never really cared. I have a tendency to play male characters, but I've played female characters before. So like pre-gens and that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter to me if I play a female or a male. I'm ambivalent to it either way.
I think I always, so in video games, I'll play a female character and then make her look like a guy. And that's what I always did. And then in D&D, I just play a guy, usually. I did play a non-binary person once, which was really cool because I could shapeshift.
So did you just say the character was, or?
Well, yeah, so you can role play however you want. Like if you wanted to role play any sexual orientation, any gender identity, anything. And so yeah. So
I think I just need to play this game now. I'm like, this is so interesting.
It is.
But like for instance, like we've talked about this on the show before, that sometimes when people try to play like the super religious characters, like the paladins and the clerics and that kind of stuff, they totally fuck it up, especially if they're religious, generally speaking. I have seemed to find that people who are less religious or atheistic tend to play paladins and clerics and that kind of stuff just better because I think they understand the religious delusion better. That's just my opinion. I take that anecdotally. So I have a tendency to play a lot of clerics and paladins because I like the class because it's a combination of magic and fighting. So
Lawful good always gets in the way of my fun.
well, lawful good is not lawful stupid. So you
But
can
I like to do bad things, and I don't want the paladin to get like all lawful on me.
yeah.
Right.
So
Paladins have to be lawful good?
yes. By
Oh.
definition, paladins have to be lawful good. They can't have an evil act go down in front of them. And if you say, "Oh, go over there," so and they're like, if they know you're going to commit an evil act while their back is turned, they won't leave. Lawful good is not lawful stupid, and so playing a lawful good paladin or cleric or something like that is really hard to do. But if you've got other good characters too, good players, they understand that, and so they're not going to do stupid shit that's going to cause a reaction between the two players to make the characters do something, hopefully. So
And can you tell us about the non-binary character, Eric? I didn't mean to. I was just like, oh, you can choose that.
Yeah, no, you're good. I mean, I didn't get to play them a lot, but because the game just never happened a lot. But I was a shapeshifter. I can't remember what my class was. It was a weird class, and it's been a long time since I played it. But I could like disguise myself as whatever I wanted. So sometimes I looked like a really beautiful woman, and sometimes I looked like a dude. And I mean, obviously you can play non-binary however you want, but that's how I was playing it with this character, and they were super cool, and I loved it. But yeah, you can
like that now.
yeah, you can literally do anything you want to do, right? So it's super cool.
as long as your DM allows it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be a shapeshifter to be able to shapeshift, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of different ways you can do that. You can play a druid. Some classes of druid allow you to do stuff like that. So, yeah.
Like with rogues, I think you can like just be really good at like disguises and stuff.
Yes.
So you could do that.
Oh.
As a bard or someone that plays charismatic characters, you can just like convince someone you're really beautiful, even though maybe you're not. That's like my favorite thing to do.
Charisma is not a dump stat. So,
Nope.
Contrary to people's popular belief. So, but yeah. Amy, so what's the character that you've ever had was like the lowest dump stat? And tell me it wasn't charisma.
No, the lowest, probably strength.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes you want agility or charisma or intelligence to be higher, especially if you're a caster.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I didn't play paladins or warriors or barbarians, so strength never really meant that much to me, but sometimes to your detriment, because you won't be strong enough to open a door or something stupid, and then you end up dying. All my characters end up dying because of some other player's stupidity.
I played a fighter once. I played a straight fighter with this guy, and I made wisdom his dump stat.
Yeah. Nice.
He couldn't do shit. He had like no skills at all. I mean, he could swim and he could climb rope. That was pretty much what he could do. Because he got like 2 points per level, and I put 1 in swim and 1 in climb rope, and another one in was it survival? I think it was. So those are like the only 3, and but other than that, he was dumb as a fucking post. I mean, he had to be told to get out of the rain. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's badass. That's badass, though. I love it. Oh,
When you roll the dice, it like decides what happens to the characters, right?
Kind of.
Yeah, I know.
Well, when you roll the dice is whether or not if you take an action that can succeed or fail. So so if I swing a sword, I roll the dice to find out if I miss or hit you. And so if I roll really good, if I roll a 20, I could possibly get a critical hit. And if I roll a 1 doesn't automatically mean failure, but it can. So
failures are so great, though. They're so much fun.
oh, I know. Have you
No,
ever
that's
done?
like a list of actions everyone can take, right? Or something like that.
Well, kind of.
I have a vague understanding, see?
Well, it depends on what you want to do. Like, there's a lot of stuff like you can try to walk on a cloud. Like the DC is like DC 60 to do it, or was it DC 120? It's an incredibly hard DC to do, but it's like balanced like DC 120. To hear a cat stalking across the floor is a listen DC 22, according to the 3.5 DMG Dungeon Master Guide. So think about that, Eric. Think about that, William. To listen to a cat sneak across a floor is a listen check DC 22. Have you actually ever heard a cat go across a floor? No. You might have seen him, but I can almost guarantee that you haven't heard him.
No, my cat has a bell. I hear her across the floor, just for that reason.
Oh, okay. Well, all of my cats are chipped. I'm sure that your cat is chipped too. So
She is.
But we don't have our cats wear bells. We don't have them tags or anything like that. So
no, she has a bell because I like to keep track of her.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of this horrible episode of Hoarders, and their cat had gone missing.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh
In the
no!
midst of the show, they just like found it.
Yeah.
And it was a corpse.
Yeah.
Ah,
And then finally the wife and the husband like both start crying and they're like, oh my god, we have a problem. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, she was old, but like that there's no dignity in that. Like, and now you finally think you have a problem. Meanwhile, your house is so filled with garbage that you couldn't find your sick cat and you like forgot about her. Like, that's fucked up. That's so like immoral to me.
That's sad.
That is sad. That's super sad. So does everybody want to play the Trump game? Can we play that now?
Ooh, yes.
Sure. 3 rounds.
3 rounds. Pick the cards. Which cards do you want?
What do you mean?
Just pick
The
the
ones
cards.
in your right hand.
Okay. So I'm going to, for those who might be listening, I've got 3 cards, and one of these 2 quotes will be Trump, and the other one will be somebody else. Please just try to guess which one Trump said. Okay? So, quote 1. Hang on a second, I got to drink for this. Wet my whistle for my Trump voice. Quote number 1. I've always been the most religious person since I was 2 years old. I've always felt a crazy connection to God. That was quote number 1.
Okay.
Quote number 2. I am the least racist person there is. That was quote number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Which one was it?
The first one.
I'm going with number 2.
Okay.
I'm going number 2.
Number 2 was Trump.
Damn it! Ah.
Number 2 was Trump.
I keep beating Amy at things.
Number 1 was Heidi. Number 1 was Heidi Montag, whoever that person is.
Okay.
Who's
You know
that?
who? I have no idea who Heidi Montag is.
Can we say that on this show?
What?
Bitch.
Yeah.
I say fuck your God in the introduction. You can say bitch.
I feel like it's so misogynist of me to say that. I retract it.
Well, you can say whatever you want. So it may not be the opinions of Matthew and Eric, but you can say whatever you want. Okay, number 2. Card number 2, quote 1. I wonder how much of our leaders have promised or given Russia in order for them to behave and not make the U.S. look even worse. That was number 1. Number 2. In a nation that was proud of hard work, strong families, close-knit communities, and our faith in God, too many of us now tend to worship self-indulgence and consumption.
Oh, number one.
Number one. Number two is too smart sounding.
Yep, exactly.
William?
I said number one.
Yeah, number one was Trump.
Yeah.
Number
could-
two was Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, I was gonna say he wouldn't have said self-indulgence in the right way.
I was thinking something similar to Eric. I was like, whoever said that like is using too many words.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it was way too smart. Jimmy Carter is a really smart man. So yeah.
And I think I agree with Amy that Trump wouldn't say self-indulgence because like I don't think he's like aware of that as a concept.
Accurate.
Like I just think it's like his kind of reality for him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Something he gets to do sometimes. Like, yeah.
Have another Big Mac and Diet Coke there, fat boy.
He won't die though. He has enough money to get all the health care.
Yeah, get all his arteries scraped every week.
Get all his arteries scraped.
Is what yeah.
Oh, funny. Okay, number one. Card 3, number 1. It's really hard to maintain a one-on-one relationship if the other person is not going to allow me to be with other people. That's funny. Number 2. Robert Pattinson should not take back Kristen Stewart. She cheated on him just like a dog and will do it again. Just watch. He can do much better.
2.
2.
So hard. It's so hard.
I'm sure he thinks 1, but I don't know if he said it.
I'm gonna go with number 1.
Okay, number 2 was Trump. Number
yay.
1.
Actor?
Yep.
Number 1 was Axl Rose who said that.
The singer rock star guy?
Yes, from Guns N' Roses. Yes. But
I don't know that much about his personality, so.
Oh, he cheated on all of his girlfriends and all that kind of stuff. He went to women a lot, especially in the 90s. They did. And still do. But anyways, Trump was the one who said that Robert Pattinson should not take back Kristen Stewart. So
Wow.
I guess it's important to remember that like he was like a reality TV star, so he used to bump elbows with like celebrities a lot.
Well, it's all for his personal gratification. He really sees other people as NPCs, as like know their own motivations and that kind of stuff for the reason why they do stuff. So,
but I was thinking like, well, why would he know or say anything about Kristen Stewart? And that's why I'm saying it's like important. I should have remembered like, oh, he was on TV, so he used to like have connections to Hollywood.
Yeah.
But I didn't like realize it right away.
I remember him actually saying something like that. I think that was like right before the election. He said that stupid shit.
Yep.
So
right before the election, he said that we need something like what Canada has for healthcare.
He did.
To argue with conservatives, and they're like, he never said that, and I'm like, it's documented. Y'all, he conned you.
He didn't mean it.
So, do you guys want to? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying to Eric, of course he didn't mean it because he conned them. He conned conservatives into voting for him.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, do you guys want to talk about fuck?
We don't want to talk about fucking right now. It's too late in the show.
It's too late in the show, but
do you?
Amy, do you want to talk about your show? William, do you want to talk about the show one more time? And
do you want to plug your holes on our show?
Please plug your holes on our show.
Empty.
Yeah, I'd love to plug my hole. It's a good time. So the show, you can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever podcatchers you choose. It's everywhere that you can find podcasts. You can find us on Facebook at the GingerSnaps Podcast, facebook.com, on Twitter at the Gingers, which we never use Twitter, so don't follow us. And on
Gingers?
It's at the Gingers.
I thought it was at the GingerSnaps.
No, it's just at the Gingers.
Oh.
And on
Ginger.
No, you're not. And on Instagram at the GingerSnaps PC.
I made that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And I usually forget to post.
Well, there's anything else that you guys want to talk about before we go? But anyways,
They can find me on Facebook under William Baker. And then on Instagram and Twitter at the Cork Queer.
awesome.
All your wine needs.
For all your wine.
Twitter is like I'll post about wine and then I'll also like argue with like pro-lifers. All like in the same day.
That sounds like
That's
a good
awesome.
time.
I think it's kind of entertaining.
It gets old though, doesn't it?
Mostly, I just send them like gifs of like little science things to like annoy them.
Nice.
I find that arguing with Republicans and conservatives just gets really old, and I just am tired of doing it for the most part. I really am.
And then I just go back to posting about wine.
Yeah, pretty much. So
Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We need
Well-
more trans people on more now.
we do. So anyways, but this is the Audio Theist Friends, and for Eric, this is Matthew, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.